Have you ever felt totally stuck? Like you really want to make a change in your life, but you just can't figure out where to even begin? Well, today we're going to uncover a simple but powerful psychological trick that could be the secret to finally getting started and crushing your financial goals. Let's dive in.
So, let's start with a question that I think gets right to the core of this whole thing. For so many of us, the biggest hurdle isn't the journey itself, it's just taking that very first step. What if getting to the starting line is actually the hardest part of the entire race?
I mean, we've all been there, right? You tell yourself, okay, I'll start fresh next week, or new month, new me. We're always on the lookout for that perfect moment to begin. But why is it so darn hard to just get going, especially when it comes to our finances?
Well, that feeling of it being hard to start makes a whole lot more sense when you see this number. A whopping 66% of employees say they feel stressed about their finances. And look, this isn't just some minor worry, it is a heavy, heavy burden that affects the majority of us, and it makes it really tough to even think about starting something new.
Okay, so let's unpack that number a little bit. A major study from Bank of America really shows just how deep this financial stress goes.
And, this isn't happening in a vacuum. With the cost of living going up and all the economic uncertainty out there, this financial pressure has this massive spillover effect. It ends up impacting everything from how productive and creative we are at work to our overall morale.
And just look at this trend right here. In only 2 years, the percentage of employees living paycheck to paycheck shot up from 52% to nearly 60%. That means for almost 6 out of every 10 people, there is literally nothing left over at the end of the month. And this kind of day-to-day pressure, it creates some pretty big gaps down the road. Take retirement, for example. Only 22% of women feel like they're on track with their goals, compared to 27% of men. That gap really shows how today's struggles can totally derail your security for tomorrow.
Now, what's really fascinating about this slide is the huge difference it shows. 2/3 of lower-income employees have less than 1 month's worth of expenses saved for an emergency. Now compare that to just 16% of their higher-income coworkers. That is a massive vulnerability gap.
So, the data, it paints a pretty tough picture of financial stress. The problem is crystal clear. But what if the best tools to fight back aren't just spreadsheets and budgets, but a simple trick of the mind?
And that brings us to the psychology of a fresh start. We're about to dig into a really fascinating mental hack that could be a total game changer for anyone who's struggling to get a new goal off the ground. It's called the fresh start effect, and it's that natural boost in motivation that we all feel at certain points in time. It's the whole reason New Year's resolutions are so popular and why saying, "I'll start on Monday" feels so powerful. Now, these moments that trigger the fresh start effect, they actually have a name. Psychologists call them temporal landmarks. You can think of them like signposts in time. A birthday, the first of the month, a new season. They signal a new chapter, and they give us this psychological permission to just start over. So how does this actually work? Well, our brains use something called mental accounting. It starts when a new time period begins. That's our temporal landmark. This lets us mentally separate our past self, the one with all the mistakes, from our future self, who is just full of potential. That mental disconnect from past failures is what gives us that surge of motivation for a new start.
Okay, so this fresh start effect, it sounds like a superpower, right? But, and this is a big but, groundbreaking research has uncovered a critical catch, a missing piece that really changes everything.
And this slide lays it out perfectly. That motivational boost from a fresh start works like magic when you choose the start date yourself. But if that date is assigned to you, say by your boss or some program, the effect almost completely disappears. The magic is in the choice. And this isn't just a theory. The research that first pinned this down is super clear, saying the fresh start effect only holds when goal start dates are self-chosen. In other words, your personal choice, your autonomy, that's the active ingredient here.
So, how do we put all of this together? We've got this widespread financial problem on one hand, and this really powerful psychological insight on the other. Let's build a practical plan to make it actually work for you. Let's go back to that Bank of America report. It outlines these 6 key areas of financial wellness. But instead of looking at this as some intimidating to-do list, think of it as a goal menu. You don't have to tackle everything at once. You just have to pick one to start with. The choice is all yours.
And that really brings us to the final, most important point. The real power here isn't just in what you decide to do, it's in giving yourself the power to decide when to do it. So pick a day, any day that feels like a new beginning to you. Draw a line in the sand. That's your temporal landmark.
That's your fresh start.
So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. Whether it's tackling debt, building up your savings, or planning for the future, what will your fresh start be? And most importantly, when will you choose for it to begin?